My company, The Hundreds, it started with that shared interest of shoes. My partner, Ben, he went to law school with me, and the first or second week of school, I noticed that he was wearing some Jordan 4s, another top 5 shoe of mine, Black 4s, and I was wearing Air Force 1s. And that's how the whole company started.
Thank you for joining us here on Restock. Definitely appreciate having you here on the show. There are a few individuals that you think of when it comes to streetwear that are, I would say, like pillars sort of in that community, and you are one of those people. What is streetwear? What makes streetwear streetwear?
In my opinion, streetwear, it's always started from a place of culture and community. It's come from, if we're talking about the garments themselves, it's graphic t-shirts, it's independently run brands and businesses, or brands that start off as being independently run, and resourceful designers building brands out of their garages. So streetwear is more or less, I think, a generational attitude. And in 5 to 10 years, we might not call it that anymore. But I feel like many of the popular brands and businesses that are popping up and across the entrepreneurial spectrum are borrowing or being inspired by what streetwear brands have been doing for decades, even if they don't acknowledge that.
Has the fashion world always looked at streetwear positively?
I'm actually genuinely not as interested in high fashion as I am about what I consider to be street fashion and fashion done by kids out of garages. But I think over the last few years, they've seen a real opportunity to capitalize on the moment. Brands, designers, fashion houses have looked at streetwear as a groundswell, super street-connected, organic means of approaching fashion from a standpoint that it's inclusive, it's diverse, and that, I think, has more to do with the cultural climate than more or less them trying to support the culture or the history of anything. And then also on the level of racial representation, right? A lot of the people who fell into streetwear and are the ones propelling it are people of color. They're diverse. They have a diverse set of interests, where fashion when we were growing up was largely run and operated, arguably all the way up until very recently, by white men or white women.
What makes a streetwear brand successful?
I never look at anything from the standpoint of, are we making money, and that equates to success, which makes me a very poor business person. But success to me in the streetwear realm is about building community. I think that is the beauty and the magic and the charm of what streetwear is that it's been a platform for so many voiceless people to come through, stand up, and be heard. And I grew up my entire life feeling like I wasn't necessarily appreciated or represented, whether it was in the media or it was in fashion or business or larger skateboarding culture, which I grew up in. I didn't necessarily see, not just racially, a lot of people who look like me, but people who shared my values and my opinions and insights on culture. And so I started a streetwear brand for that reason.
I feel like sneakers and streetwear kind of came into their own at the same time. Like, what is it about those two? What is it about sneakers that parallels so much with?
Right, there's a synergy there. If not, they're interrelated. We really couldn't have streetwear and street culture, street fashion, I think, today if we didn't get into a conversation about sneakers, right? I think everything literally starts from the ground up. We can talk about the fact that there was a swell of nostalgia around the sneakers that we had grew up admiring and wanted that we never had access to, right? For my generation, that would be the Air Jordan, the Air Force One, the Nike Dunk, but really the Air Jordan was the shoe, and that bled into the Reebok pumps and certain Puma Clydes, and especially the generation before would maybe arguably say it was the Puma Clydes and Puma Suedes because of the different color combinations and the collectability of that. So I have, I've talked about this before, but I think what sneakers allowed men to do was to talk about fashion in a way that was more socially acceptable back in the 80s and the 90s, and especially when we were getting into in the early 2000s, without being looked at through the lens of, oh, you're effeminate or you're more or less gay because you're interested in clothing and you're interested in how you look, right? But to say that you're into your sneakers was totally different.
Totally different, yeah.
Sneaker design and sneaker appreciation is almost equivalent to something like I'm into car culture, right? Or I'm into collecting baseball cards and comic books.
So I'll ask a two-part question here.
Okay.
What is the favorite collab that you guys have done? And two, is there a dream collab that you still want to do?
There's always dream collabs. There's more dream collabs every year because my mind just starts moving to different spaces, and I'm also growing. Something I would have never have wanted to do before. Let's say it's a table. I don't want to design tables, but I hit a point in my life where I'm surrounded by people who are educating me about tables, and now I have a new appreciation for what table design is. Right. And so now I want to design tables. So my dreams actually continue to grow. My favorite collaboration of all time, I would say we've worked with Garfield a few times, and and it sold really well. And but it wasn't so much about the sales; it was more about what it meant to me as a young person. I learned how to draw by reading Garfield comics.
Wow!
Right, so I almost modeled my personality after him at a certain point with his sarcasm and his humor. Every collaboration has a purpose, and some of them are meant to more or less be about sales and market noise. And some of them are really just about, let's just do something cool that we've never done before and create something, even though it's not gonna necessarily sell. We do it for our sake and our sanity, and also to be able to contribute to some progression, I think, in this space, which is collaborations always allow us to do that.
What's your favorite sneaker collab you guys have done?
I liked working with Adidas a lot. That was fun. They were very collaborative in the process. Reebok allowed us to work on a cross-trainer pump. We made many different shoes, but there was this cross-trainer pump when I was growing up that I never saw too many other brands work on over the years, but it was the one pump that I really admired, and it wasn't like a David Robinson pump, and it wasn't the Michael Chang tennis pump. It was a mid, and it was this aqua black and white color combination that I've always, for whatever reason, has always resonated with me if you look at a lot of my t-shirt graphics over time. And so we were able to bring that back and work on it. My favorite project coming up, which I don't think I've really announced anywhere, is we're doing...
Oh, this is good to hear.
This is a good... Yes.
Yeah, this is
You're like...
Yeah. I'm like, go ahead. Tell us a little more.
Is we're doing a series of collaborations with Puma. Starting in this holiday season, we're going to drop the first one, and it goes into a full year, 2020, of consistent Puma projects. And what you would expect, we have some Clydes and Suedes and shoes like that, but they also retroed sneakers that they haven't put out since, the 2 seasons they were out, 30 years ago. So they let us go through the archives. We flew out to Germany. We work very closely with their team. And as much as I love and appreciate the product and the results that we're getting, the team that we've been able to work with has been so fluid and so accepting of our ideas and been able to work with us, adaptable, improvising, that to me is the halo of the entire collaboration. Is that we've really become close friends with all these people. We know everything about their lives. They're really a part of our community now. And I think that will translate through the product. When you see it, you'll be able to see that there was so much care and thoughtfulness that went into every sneaker that was designed, because it was coming from a place of true collaboration between the brands.
How important is that storytelling element, especially like when it comes to sneakers?
The storytelling to me is everything. Again, maybe I'm not the best business person, and the story is usually the first thing that gets cut out of the picture when you are trying to conserve fuel. But I've always approached everything that I do from a place of story, and it's carried us this far. We're not the biggest brand in the world, and we're not the best, but I do believe we have some of the best stories that will carry on for generations.
Hearing you say that, do you feel like you need to be the biggest or the best to reach a consumer or to reach somebody?
No. I think there was a time where I really wanted that because the world was telling me that. I can honestly say there were years we were walking around out there going like, I don't know if I necessarily want to be associated with what that is right now, and trying to distance ourselves image-wise and creatively from what the brand had become at that point in time. And so I would love to get to a place where I'm a Supreme or a Ralph Lauren, only if it's within my control, only if it's coming from a place where I'm serving the greater good of the community.
Yeah. I think of it like sneaker collectors. I went through this phase where I just wanted to get every shoe. And then it just got to the point where you have this massive collection and it's like, what is that?
What is the point of this?
What is the point of this? But with that being said,
yes.
Are there like still like, this is the one sneaker that I do still kind of want?
Oh yeah, there are definitely sneakers that I want. I'm human. And I felt that urge recently at Virgil's show in Paris. He introduced these new dunks with Futura. And I love these dunks because I feel like it encapsulates my entire story, and I'm sure that's the reason why a lot of guys and girls in our generation feel that way when they see those shoes.
How does it feel to kind of see like the resurgence of like the SBs and the dunks, like that coming back now?
It feels good nostalgically. It feels good from a place of, I feel young again, and I know how to play this game, right? It'd be like if all the kids started playing Sonic the Hedgehog, but the original one again. I'd be like, step aside, youngsters.
I feel like everyone has a sneaker that kind of gets them into sneakers.
Yeah.
What was that sneaker for you and why?
I would say Jordans. That was just everything when we were growing up, an Air Jordan. I grew up wearing Pro Wings, which kids today don't really know this, but Payless Shoe Source was the more cheaper, affordable shoe store in your town. And they were Velcroed shoes, Pro Wings, and my parents would never even listen. They wouldn't hear of me talking about Reebok pumps that were $100 or Nikes that were $75. That was out of the question. This is a weird fact, but Ben and I own Pro Wings because one day I was just like, who owns it? And the trademark was open, so I just like took the trademark. And I was just like, we should just bring them back. Yeah, because like, what happened to that brand? And there's this weird, sweet nostalgia around it for us.
What was the first pair you bought with your own money?
With my own money would probably be Reebok pumps. And it was that cross trainer that I was talking about that we collaborated on.
Well, I just want to say thank you for joining me on the show. You have done many things, and you have many great stories to tell. And I think people can look to you, and obviously once they get a chance to read This Is Not a T-Shirt, to see the journey. And for kids, the young kids that want to be in the place that you're in and that want to walk that path, I think this is a good guide of showing not only the ups, like I felt like you kept it pretty real. Yo, so the man, Bobby Hundreds, here on Restock, presented by Ruffles. You guys, I told you this season is crazy. Make sure you stay tuned and check out the next episode. We got some heat coming. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah,
Definitely appreciate you being here. It really meant a lot to me to be able to sit down and talk to you.
I appreciate you, the platform. Thank you.
We also got a chance to talk to Bobby Hundreds about streetwear, sneakers, and just the overall culture. Do you think it's becoming too mainstream, or do you appreciate the evolution of things in general?
Oh, I definitely think it's becoming too mainstream. Everybody wants to look like everybody else.
I think a little bit of both. I think, a lot of people coming in, like obviously with Supreme, just coming in just to buy to resell can be a little problematic sometimes, but I also like to see more people getting involved, getting more people aware of it, so it can just keep growing and getting better.
I definitely think it's getting really mainstream. For someone who's been collecting sneakers for as long as I can remember, people weren't always into this. And now it's like everybody and their mom wants to cop the newest stuff, the latest things. And it's like before it was like a gem, like to have like your circle of friends that's into it. And now it's like everybody's into it. I don't know.